There are unseen battles that women face every single day, not battles of the body but of the spirit, energies that drain, voices that confuse, and invisible forces that try to control your path. But just as darkness flees from light, these powers cannot stand against certain sacred tools. Today, I will share with you 7 incense mixtures, ancient combinations every woman must burn, to remove demonic influences and restore balance to her mind, body, and spirit. When we speak of demonic forces, many people immediately think of something dramatic, like shadows in the night or voices echoing in the darkness. But in truth, the most dangerous influences are not the ones that appear visibly before your eyes. They are the subtle ones, the quiet whispers that slowly weaken your spirit without you even noticing. These forces do not always arrive in the form of frightening apparitions. Instead, they creep into your thoughts, your emotions, and your energy, leaving you feeling drained, confused, and unsettled. For women, these battles are often even more pronounced, because the feminine energy is deeply connected with intuition, sensitivity, and nurturing. This very sensitivity, while a strength, can also be targeted and exploited by unseen powers. You may notice days when everything feels heavy without reason. You wake up tired, although you rested. You try to focus, but your mind becomes clouded with thoughts that do not belong to you. Sometimes you feel sudden fear, sadness, or anxiety, and you cannot explain where it came from. Other times, you sense a presence around you, though no one is physically there. These are not just coincidences or imagination. Often, they are signs that something external is pressing against your spiritual field, attempting to break your defenses and influence your path. These demonic influences thrive in silence. They feed on unawareness, on a life lived without protection. They are not always grand attacks. Sometimes they arrive in the smallest form, a negative thought repeated over and over until you begin to believe it, a wave of jealousy directed towards you that manifests as conflict, or a sudden lack of peace in your home. Each of these, if ignored, opens a doorway for deeper interference. That is why women must not dismiss the invisible realm. Protecting the spirit is as important as protecting the body. Think about it this way: if you walked through polluted air every day, without ever cleansing your lungs, eventually you would grow sick. In the same way, if you move through environments filled with negative energy, curses, and harmful intentions without ever cleansing your spirit, eventually those forces will take root inside you. And once they are inside, they do not leave easily. They bind themselves to your thoughts, to your emotions, to your very sense of self, until you no longer recognize who you are. This is the true danger. Not that they appear as something obvious, but that they disguise themselves as part of you. It is in this awareness that we begin to understand the need for sacred practices of protection. For just as these forces are invisible, so too are the weapons that drive them away. And when a woman begins to see clearly that what she struggles with is not always born from within, but sometimes pressed upon her from the outside, she finds the strength to rise, to cleanse, and to reclaim her power. The first step is to recognize that these invisible influences are real, and once you recognize them, you will never again allow them to have power over you. Since the beginning of human civilization, people have turned to incense as a bridge between the physical and the spiritual. From the temples of the East to the sacred rituals of the West, incense has always held a place of honor. Why? Because smoke carries intention, it rises, it spreads, it penetrates every corner of a space, and in doing so it purifies, protects, and elevates. Demonic powers, no matter how strong they may seem, cannot withstand an atmosphere that is charged with sacred fragrance and burning intention. The moment incense is lit with purpose, the unseen environment shifts, and what was once heavy becomes lighter. What was once oppressive begins to fade. Incense is not merely about fragrance, it is about energy. Each plant, resin, or herb used in incense carries its own vibration, a natural frequency that interacts with the unseen world. For example, frankincense has been used for thousands of years to open pathways of light, while myrrh is known for sealing and protecting spaces from intrusion. When these natural elements are combined and burned, their smoke becomes a shield, an invisible armor that surrounds those present. Just as one would not step into battle without a weapon, one should not step into the spiritual realm unprotected. Incense is one of those weapons, subtle yet powerful. But what makes incense so unique is not only its protective ability, it is also its power to create alignment within the person using it. The moment you light incense, you are reminded to slow down, to focus, to breathe. This act itself becomes a ritual, a declaration that you are taking authority over the atmosphere around you. Demonic forces thrive in chaos and distraction. They lose their grip when you center yourself, when you reclaim stillness and clarity. Burning incense is not simply about chasing away negativity. It is about inviting in strength, peace, and higher energy to fill the void that darkness leaves behind. When the smoke fills a room, it does more than cleanse the air. It creates an environment that makes it difficult for harmful forces to remain. They cannot coexist with purity. They cannot withstand the rising energy of sacred fire. Just as insects flee from flame, so too do demonic powers flee from the rising smoke of incense charged with intention. And while to the eyes it may appear as nothing more than thin trails of fragrance, in the unseen realm, it is like a blazing light that blinds and drives away anything that does not belong. This is why women must embrace incense as part of their spiritual protection. It is not an outdated practice or mere tradition. It is a living, breathing weapon that transforms any space into a sanctuary. To hold incense in your hands is to hold a key, one that can open the door to peace and close the door to darkness. Many people believe that incense alone has the power to chase away negativity, but the truth is deeper than that. Incense is a tool, a vessel. What determines its true strength is not only the mixture you burn, but the intention you carry when you burn it. Fire and smoke respond to the state of the one who lights them. If your mind is scattered, if your heart is restless, then the incense becomes little more than fragrance in the air. But when your thoughts are focused, when your spirit is aligned, the smoke transforms into a force that carries your intention into the unseen, amplifying it and making it impossible for darkness to remain. Everything in this world is energy, and intention is the sharpest form of energy you possess. Demonic powers are not frightened of empty rituals, but they tremble when a woman stands with clarity and conviction, when her heart is steady and her mind is directed. Lighting incense while your heart is filled with doubt is like holding a sword you are too afraid to swing. But lighting incense with faith, with the inner knowing that this act is a shield and a weapon, is like setting fire to the chains that try to hold you down. When you burn incense, let it be an act of presence. Do not rush. Do not treat it as routine. Pause, center yourself, inhale deeply and release everything that does not serve you. Then, with a clear mind, set your intention. Maybe you seek to drive away fear. Maybe you seek protection for your home. Maybe you seek freedom from confusion or heaviness pressing against you. Speak it silently or speak it aloud, but let your intention be clear. The smoke will rise and carry that command into places you cannot see, enforcing it where your own hands cannot reach. This is why sacred rituals across cultures have always combined incense with prayer, meditation, or chanting. The fragrance alone calms the senses, but the union of fragrance with focused intention opens a gateway to transformation. It is not about superstition, it is about energy meeting energy. Darkness feeds on passivity, but it cannot resist the strength of directed will. And this is what incense teaches you. To align your body, your breath, your mind, and your spirit, and to let the act of burning become more than a habit. It becomes a declaration. Every time you light incense with pure intention, you are training yourself to stand firm against invisible enemies. You are teaching your spirit to take authority over what tries to control it. And with each practice, the connection between your inner strength and the outer tool grows stronger, until incense becomes more than smoke. It becomes a mirror of your own power. The true force lies not in the incense itself, but in the intention you breathe into it. There are different kinds of battles that a woman faces in the unseen world, and not every force comes in the same form. This is why a single incense is not always enough. Just as medicine is prescribed differently depending on the sickness, the mixtures of incense must be chosen carefully, according to the type of attack that needs to be driven away. Each herb, resin, and root carries its own vibration, its own purpose, and when combined with others, it becomes a formula specifically designed to break a certain chain. To understand this is to understand that protection is not random, it is precise. There are mixtures designed to clear confusion. These are for the times when your mind feels clouded, when thoughts twist and turn until you can no longer hear your own inner voice. Burning such incense works like opening a window in a dark room, letting light flood in so you can see clearly again. There are mixtures that remove fear, for those moments when anxiety and dread grip you without reason. Their smoke is like armor wrapping around you, calming the heart and reminding you that nothing external has power over the strength within. There are also incense mixtures for heaviness, when your spirit feels weighted down and no amount of rest seems to restore you. These combinations work to lift the invisible burdens, to shake off the chains of oppression that demonic powers use to keep you low. For those haunted by restless sleep, there are mixtures for protection against nightmares, Incense that shields the mind from interference in the night, so you may find peace in your rest. Jealousy and envy are another form of attack, often unseen but strongly felt. When others direct negative energy toward you, it can stir conflict in your relationships, drain your confidence, or even cause physical fatigue. There are incense mixtures that cut through this energy, sending it back, dissolving it before it takes root in your life. And then there are mixtures for curses and spoken words, for when you feel that someone has deliberately tried to tie your path with knots of darkness. These combinations cleanse deeply, breaking the power of those words and returning your spirit to freedom. Each of the 7 mixtures holds a specific purpose, and when a woman learns to choose and use them with awareness, she is no longer helpless against unseen attacks. She becomes equipped not just with fragrance, but with formulas that were handed down through time, carrying the wisdom of generations who also fought against the same forces. When she burns them with intention, her home becomes a place where no demonic power can remain, and her spirit becomes untouchable. To know these mixtures is to know that for every attack, there is an answer, and for every shadow, there is a flame strong enough to drive it away. Protection is not something that happens by accident. It must be cultivated, it must be maintained, and it must become part of your way of living. Too often, people wait until they feel overwhelmed before they take steps to defend their spirit, but by then the energy has already settled in deeply. The wiser path is to create a daily ritual, a practice that consistently clears your space and strengthens your inner shield. Just as the body is sustained by food and water, the spirit is sustained by practices that nurture and protect it, and incense can become a central part of this rhythm. Imagine beginning your morning not with rushing thoughts and distractions, but with stillness. You light the incense and watch as the smoke begins to rise, carrying with it your intention for the day. As the fragrance spreads, your home is filled with an energy that welcomes peace and keeps out heaviness. In that moment, you are not only protecting yourself, you are setting the tone for everything that will follow. Every step you take throughout the day is supported by the clarity and strength you created at the start. Or picture the evening, after a long day where you may have absorbed stress, negativity, or even hostility from others. Instead of allowing those energies to remain with you, you take a moment to cleanse. You burn incense, you breathe deeply, and you let the smoke sweep away everything that does not belong. In doing so, you are not carrying the weight of the day into your night. You are releasing it, protecting your rest, and preparing your spirit to enter the next day, renewed. A daily ritual does not need to be complex. It is not about the length of time but the quality of intention. Even 5 minutes can shift the atmosphere entirely if done with presence. You may choose to say a prayer, to repeat affirmations, or to simply stand in silence, allowing the incense to work as you align your heart and mind. What matters most is consistency. Just as washing your hands daily keeps the body clean, cleansing your space daily keeps your spirit safe. Over time, this practice builds layers of strength around you. The forces that once entered easily will find no doorway, no weakness to exploit. Your home becomes a fortress, and your spirit becomes steady and resilient. And just as important, this daily ritual reminds you of your own power. Each time you light incense with purpose, you declare to the unseen world that you are not passive, you are not vulnerable, and you will not allow demonic powers to dictate your life. When incense becomes a daily ritual, protection is no longer something you seek only in moments of desperation. It becomes the atmosphere you live in every single day. When a woman begins to walk with the awareness of her own spiritual strength, something within her changes. She is no longer moved by every storm that comes her way, because she knows that storms are temporary and her foundation is unshakable. The incense she burns is no longer just smoke rising into the air. It becomes a symbol of her discipline, her clarity, and her refusal to allow darkness any place in her life. This transformation is not loud, it is not boastful, but it is powerful because it radiates from the inside out. You can see it in her presence. Where once she may have felt drained or weighed down, she now carries herself with lightness. Her eyes no longer reflect confusion, but calm certainty. Her spirit no longer feels pulled in many directions, but grounded and centered. The unseen battles may still come, but they no longer overwhelm her, because she has learned how to guard herself and how to release what does not belong. She has understood that she is not at the mercy of hidden forces. She is the one who decides what enters her space and what must leave. There is a deep beauty in this transformation. It is not about being untouchable in the sense that challenges will never appear. Life will always test. People will always project their own shadows. Negative energy will still try to approach. But the difference is that she no longer fears it. Fear has no hold over someone who knows how to protect her own spirit. Instead of reacting with panic or despair, she responds with stillness and with strength. She has her tools, she has her rituals, and she has her intention. That is enough. And in protecting herself, she also protects those around her. The home of such a woman becomes a sanctuary, a place where peace can be felt the moment you step inside. Her energy uplifts her family, her friends, and even strangers who cross her path. She becomes a source of stability in a world full of turbulence, because she is no longer easily shaken. Her incense rituals are not only for her own freedom, but also for the atmosphere she creates for others. This is the true victory over demonic power. Not that it disappears from the world, but that it no longer has control over you. When a woman transforms herself in this way, she moves with quiet authority. She reclaims the strength that was always hers, hidden beneath layers of fear and doubt. And she shines with a light that darkness cannot approach. The transformation of a woman who guards her spirit is not just protection, it is freedom, it is clarity, and it is unshakable peace.